There's a certain kind of pain that doesn't scream, it just lingers. A quiet confusion that lives in the space between texts, in the silence after vulnerability, in the feeling of being close to someone, but never really knowing where you stand. You keep telling yourself they're just busy. They'll come around. It's complicated. But deep down, a part of you knows you are being fed crumbs and calling it love. Let me tell you something hard but necessary. When someone truly values you, you won't have to decode their energy. You won't need to guess if you matter. You won't sit in anxiety, waiting to be chosen. Because the right person doesn't play games with your peace. They don't use silence as control. They don't leave you drowning in overthinking. The right person shows up with presence, with consistency, with clarity, because a real connection is not built on confusion, it is built on certainty. And if someone's actions leave you doubting yourself more than trusting them, that is your answer. In a world addicted to maybe, learn to walk away from anyone who makes you question your worth and walk toward the one truth you've been avoiding. You don't have to beg for clarity when love is real. Many times in life, people think that silence is confusing, that when someone doesn't reply, when someone withdraws, it must mean they're uncertain, that they need time. So we wait, we sit in that silence, hoping it will transform into clarity, into warmth, into love. But it rarely does. And the truth is, the silence was the clarity. You see, we are conditioned to want answers wrapped in words. We chase explanations, closure, and neatly defined emotions. But real life, real relationships, they don't always speak in full sentences. They speak through presence, through action, through the frequency of consistency. And when that presence disappears, when the calls stop, when the messages fade, when the energy you once felt slowly vanishes, you start questioning your worth, your value, your significance. But what if I told you it's not about you at all? We give too much power to those who ghost us, to those who retreat without warning. But that power only grows because we refuse to accept the truth behind the silence. We want the story to continue, so we keep writing it in our heads. They must be going through something. They probably didn't see my message. Maybe they're just overwhelmed. We create noise to cover the silence. Because silence is painful, it's hard to face, but it's also the most honest message you'll ever receive. When someone doesn't show up, they're showing you everything you need to know. A man on the path of mastery must learn this. Confusion is often self-inflicted. We confuse ourselves because we are unwilling to accept the simplicity of truth. And in love, in relationships, this is amplified. Someone who values you will not leave you guessing. They won't vanish without explanation. They won't speak one thing and act another. They won't go silent and expect you to wait in uncertainty. Why? Because presence is respect, clarity is care, and communication, no matter how imperfect, is a form of love. So when someone leaves you in silence, recognize it for what it is. It is not a test. It is not a puzzle. It is not a challenge you need to solve to prove your worth. It is a boundary being drawn by the universe, not to hurt you, but to protect you. To reveal the truth before you waste more time on the illusion. But to see it this way requires strength, emotional detachment, stillness, because the moment you stop chasing noise, the clarity that was there all along begins to rise. You begin to realize it wasn't that they didn't answer, it's that they didn't want to. It wasn't that they forgot you. It's that they didn't value you the way you deserved. This is not bitterness. It is not anger. It is true, and truth is neutral. It does not need to hurt you. It just needs to wake you up. So instead of sitting in the echo of unanswered questions, rise. Take that silence as sacred information, not an insult, but insight, not rejection, but redirection. When you stop begging the world to explain its silence, you start hearing something else, the voice inside you, the one that says, you knew all along, the one that says, stop looking outward for answers you already carry within. Your peace will never come from trying to force someone to speak who has already chosen silence. Your peace comes from choosing yourself, from walking away the moment someone makes you question your place in their life. Because you deserve more than guessing. You deserve more than halfway love. You deserve presence, and presence never hides. Words are easy. Anyone can speak to them. A compliment, a promise, even an apology, they don't require presence, only practice. But energy never lies, and yet most people never listen to it. They listen to tone, not tension. They listen to words, not alignment. They hear the sound of language, but not the truth beneath the surface. But if you want to walk the path of wisdom, of clarity, of emotional self-mastery, you must begin to listen with your whole being. Have you ever been around someone who said all the right things, but somehow something still felt off? Their words were warm, but your gut was cold. They smiled, but your chest tightened. This is the body telling you the truth. The mind is too afraid to hear. Too often, we override our instincts in favor of comfort. We silence our intuition because we want to believe someone's words over what their energy is screaming. We want to believe they care. We want to believe they're still with us. We want to believe they didn't change. But energy doesn't need your permission to speak. It speaks through distance, through disengagement, through hesitation. And if you're paying attention, you'll notice it long before the words ever change. In relationships, especially for men who feel lost, who crave depth, who want something real, this becomes crucial. Because when you ignore the dissonance between words and energy, you begin to betray yourself. You make excuses for their coldness. You dismiss the inconsistency. You cling to the memory of how they were, instead of accepting how they are now. But a warrior's discipline is not just about his body. It's about his awareness. It's about recognizing when someone's energy has left the room, even if they are still standing in front of you. And more importantly, it's about having the strength to respond to what is, not what you wish it could be. So, how do you begin to listen with your whole being? First, slow down. The faster you move, the easier it is to be fooled. Stillness reveals what speed hides. Sit with people, look at how they speak, watch their eyes, feel their presence. Is it grounded or is it scattered? Is it flowing or is it forced? Next, trust your body. The mind is clever. It justifies, it rewrites, it negotiates, but the body, it simply knows. That knot in your stomach, that tension in your jaw, that shift in your breath when they walk into the room, these are not random. These are signals. Finally, remove the fear of loss. The reason most men ignore energetic truth is because they don't want to face what it means, that maybe she's already gone. That maybe the love you're holding onto isn't there anymore. But holding onto someone's shadow will only darken your world. Let it go, not in anger, not in despair, but in reverence for the truth, for yourself, and for the life you still have left to build. Because the deeper lesson is this: you cannot fake presence, you cannot manufacture alignment, and no amount of wishing will make someone's energy come back when their soul has already moved on. A man of mastery listens not just with his ears, but with his breath, with his posture, with the part of him that feels without needing evidence. And when that inner sense tells him something is off, he does not argue, he aligns. This is not emotional. This is not spiritual. This is practical wisdom. In every moment, life is communicating with you. So are the people around you. And if you learn to listen with your whole being, not just your heart, not just your mind, but everything you are, you will never again stay where your presence is not met. You will never again doubt what is obvious. You will never again need someone to say what their energy already told you. Because now you know energy does not lie. We live in a world obsessed with signs, signs that someone loves us, signs that they're the right one, signs that it's worth holding on. So we spend hours reading into texts, decoding silence, analyzing moments, and creating stories around things that should have been simple. But connection, real connection, does not live in hidden meanings. It does not require guessing. It does not create anxiety. True connection, the kind that brings peace, is unmistakable. You don't question it. You don't chase it. You don't beg it to show itself, because from the very beginning it offers itself freely. Now, I know for many of you this feels foreign, especially if you've been wounded by inconsistency, if your experience of love was always tied to proving yourself, being enough, and earning attention. Then, of course, certainty will feel suspicious, warmth will feel unnatural, peace will feel boring. But that's not because peace is wrong. It's because pain trained you to believe chaos is love. I need you to hear this clearly. Love is not supposed to confuse you. It is not supposed to make you wonder where you stand. It is not a puzzle you solve by performing better, texting faster, or becoming more. When the connection is real, it flows, it deepens naturally. You feel it in their tone, their presence, the way they remember the little things, not because they have to, but because they want to. They show you every day that you matter, not with grand gestures, but with small consistencies, not through words alone, but through reliability. There's something powerful about waking up and not having to question whether the person you care about still cares for you. There is strength in stability, but many of us mistake the unfamiliar for the unworthy. We reject what's real because it doesn't hurt. And that's where the self-mastery begins, learning to trust peace over patterns. So ask yourself, when was the last time you felt safe in a connection? Not excited, not infatuated, safe. When was the last time you weren't checking your phone in dread, waiting to know if they're still interested? When was the last time you sat across from someone and felt seen? Not because you performed, but because you simply existed. That is what a true connection does. It meets you exactly where you are and stays, not for convenience, not for gain, but because your soul speaks the same language as theirs, even in silence. When a person truly values you, they don't give you space to guess. They give you space to grow. They ask how your heart feels, not out of obligation, but out of presence. And if something shifts, they communicate. They don't punish you with distance. They don't play games with your mind. Now, here's where many men struggle. When things feel unclear, we tend to push harder. We overcompensate. We try to win them over with logic, gestures, and promises, but that kind of chasing disconnects us from our center. It puts our self-worth in someone else's hands. Real connection does not demand that you lose yourself. It invites you to return to yourself, more whole, more alive, more grounded. And this is what I want you to take with you. If someone keeps you in confusion, it's not because they're complicated, it's because they're not aligned with you. If someone leaves you wondering, it's not a mystery, it's avoidance. And if someone forces you to carry the weight of their indecision, that is not a connection, it is a cage. So stop looking for signs in the chaos. Start recognizing the signal in peace. Start noticing the people who feel like rest, not effort. Start honoring the ones who bring clarity without needing to explain it. True connection leaves no doubt. And when you find it, you'll realize you were never asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong person. There is something deeply disturbing that I continue to observe in people, especially men who feel lost in love or their sense of self, and it is this: they believe they have to earn the most basic level of human decency. They believe they must perform for the respected. And this, my friend, is a dangerous place to live. Where did this idea come from? That you must be good enough to be treated with kindness, that you must look a certain way, earn a certain amount, behave perfectly, never make mistakes, just to be treated like a human being. Respect is not a prize, it is a standard. And if someone only offers you respect when it's convenient for them, that is not a connection. That is manipulation. The truth is, many of us grew up in environments where love and respect were conditional. You had to behave, impress, be quiet, or be excellent, or you were ignored, mocked, or made to feel invisible. Over time, this conditioning becomes your operating system, and now, as an adult, you tolerate the bare minimum. You rationalize the disrespect. You tell yourself, maybe I deserved that, or I should have said it differently. No. Stop. Respect is not something you have to earn through perfection. It is something you should receive by simply existing. This doesn't mean everyone must agree with you. This doesn't mean you will never be challenged. But it does mean, at the very foundation of every relationship, there should be mutual recognition of dignity. Not because you proved yourself, but because you are human. So why do you accept disrespect? Often it's because you are afraid to be alone. You would rather tolerate dishonor than face the silence of your own space. But let me remind you, solitude is not suffering. It is a strength. The man who is comfortable with his own company does not bow to crumbs. He does not chase validation. He does not allow someone to devalue him just to avoid being alone. There is power in walking away the moment you are disrespected, not because you want revenge, not because you want to teach a lesson, but because you understand your worth. Respect is seen in the way someone listens to you. It's in the way they handle your vulnerabilities. It's in whether they mock you, ignore you, interrupt you, or look at you like you matter. A person who truly respects you will not try to control you with silence. They won't use sarcasm to belittle your voice. They won't make you feel like a burden just for having emotions. So, if someone does these things, I ask you, why are you still there? Sometimes we tell ourselves they're just going through something, and maybe they are. But their pain is not permission to harm you. You can hold compassion for someone and still protect your peace. You can care deeply and still walk away when your soul is being dishonored. This is where self-mastery comes in. Not reacting in anger, not lashing out, but calmly, clearly saying, "This is not how I allow myself to be treated. I wish you well, but I'm moving on." This is not cold. It's not selfish. It's necessary. Because what you tolerate teaches the world how to treat you. And every time you allow disrespect to slide, you send a message not just to them, but to yourself that you are not worthy of more. But you are, you always were. So stop auditioning, stop proving, stop shrinking to fit someone's inability to honor your presence. You don't have to scream to be heard. You don't have to fight to be seen. The people who are meant for you will meet you with respect as a baseline, not as a reward. So today, I invite you to raise your standard, not to feel superior, but to return to your natural level. Respect is not a luxury. It is a mirror of your self-respect. And the moment you choose it for yourself, others will have no choice but to rise to meet you. There is a sentence, short, simple, and sharp, that many people avoid because it cuts through illusions we don't want to release. That sentence is this: if they wanted to, they would, not if they had time, not if they weren't so busy, not if you just explained it better, no. If they wanted to, they would. This truth is not meant to be cruel, it is meant to free you. Because many of us, especially as men who crave real connection but have been emotionally starved, fall into a habit of rationalizing someone's absence. We make excuses for them, for why they don't call, why they don't show up, why their affection feels distant, inconsistent, and fragmented. And what's worse is that we take it personally. We believe that if we were just more interesting, more attractive, more successful, then surely they would stay, respond, try harder. But let me ask you something: when someone truly matters to you, don't you make time? When someone's well-being is important, don't you show up, even in small ways? So why do we pretend others don't operate by the same laws? We know this in our bones. Human beings prioritize what they care about. And when they don't, it's not because they forgot, it's because they chose not to. And that's what hurts the most. Not the absence itself, but what the absence reveals. That maybe you're not as important to them as they are to you. And still we stay. We stay because we hope, because we remember the early days, because we're afraid to face the truth that maybe, just maybe, the connection has become one-sided. But there is no peace in begging for effort. There is no peace in performing for attention. There is no power in chasing someone whose silence is louder than your worth. So if someone is making you feel uncertain, confused, like you have to earn every drop of affection, remember, you're not asking for too much. You're just asking someone who doesn't want to give it. If they wanted to, they would text you back. They would ask how you're doing. They would remember what matters to you. They would support your growth, not disappear when it makes them uncomfortable. Now, this truth isn't always easy to accept, especially for those of us raised on the idea that love is struggle, that we must fight for someone to stay, that we must be willing to go through hell to keep a relationship alive. But real love is not built in chaos. It's built in consistency, and consistency cannot be faked. It cannot be forced. If they wanted to, they would means you no longer chase clarity. You no longer chase people. You observe. You pay attention, and you believe what their actions show, even if their words say something else. Because here's the deeper mastery. You stop internalizing their lack of effort as your lack of value. You stop letting their emotional unavailability define your self-worth. You understand that someone not choosing you is not always rejection. Sometimes it's redirection towards something better. Let go of the fantasy version of them. Let go of the story where they finally wake up and realize their worth. You don't need to be discovered. You don't need to be chased. You don't need to be chosen later. The right person chooses you now. They show up now, not because you beg them to, but because you live in alignment with your truth, and they are drawn to that. So breathe, stop explaining, stop chasing, stop waiting for someone to do what they've already shown they won't. Your peace begins the moment you stop justifying someone else's inconsistency. Remember, if they wanted to, they would. And if they don't, you walk away, not out of anger, not out of spite, but out of love for yourself. So many men today are exhausted, not because of hard work, not because of discipline or dedication, but because of emotional uncertainty. Every conversation, every date, every interaction feels like a silent exam, like you're constantly being measured for your worth but never handed a grade. And I want to tell you something that may sound simple, but it will change the way you approach love, connection, and your peace. When it's real, it doesn't feel like a test. You don't feel like you're walking on eggshells. You don't feel like you're being judged every time you express how you feel. You don't feel like one mistake will erase everything. When a connection is genuine, it feels safe. Not perfect, but safe. There's space for you to speak your truth without punishment. There's room for your flaws, your uncertainties, even your silence. And more than that, there's understanding. But many of you don't know what that feels like because you were never given that experience growing up. You were taught that love had to be earned, that if you failed the test of behavior, you would lose the love. So now you bring that same pattern into your relationships. You constantly ask yourself, did I say the right thing? Was I too much? Will they still like me if I open up? And this mental pressure builds until the relationship isn't even about love anymore. It's about survival. But love is not survival. It is a sanctuary. And if you find yourself constantly anxious, overthinking every text, wondering where you stand, this is not love. It's emotional instability dressed in the disguise of connection. Now, this doesn't mean that real love is effortless. No, real relationships require presence, commitment, and responsibility, but they should not feel like a battlefield. You shouldn't feel like you're always one mistake away from being abandoned. If someone truly values you, they will not create conditions for your acceptance. They won't test your loyalty by pulling away to see if you chase. They won't go silent to see how much you miss them. That is not love, that is control, and you must stop calling it romantic when someone keeps you guessing. Let me ask you something. When you walk into a space of real friendship, do you feel anxious? Do you feel like you must perform? No, you feel free, you feel received. That's what real love feels like too, familiar, warm, steady. But the challenge for many men is that we've been conditioned to associate unpredictability with excitement. If it's calm, we think it's boring. If she's consistent, we assume she's not playing the game. But this mindset is rooted in trauma, not truth. What you think is exciting is often just your nervous system reacting to chaos. When a woman genuinely respects you, you won't feel like you're constantly being examined. You'll feel like you're being seen, not for what you can prove, but for who you are beneath the armor. You'll stop asking yourself, am I enough? And you'll start saying, I feel at peace here. And that's what you must hold as your new standard. Peace, not performance, because the man who lives in performance mode never rests. He's always auditioning, always wondering, always half present. But the man who learns to recognize real connection becomes dangerous in the best way. He becomes powerful because he no longer needs to beg for love. He embodies it. So if you're in something right now that feels like a test, stop. Step back, breathe. Ask yourself, why am I still trying to prove myself to someone who already made me doubt my value? And then choose differently. Because when it's real, it won't be perfect, but it will be clear. You won't be kept in the dark. You won't be punished for asking questions. You won't be guilt-tripped for needing clarity. You'll be able to stand in your truth and say, this is who I am, this is how I love, take it or leave it. And when the right person stands in front of you, they won't hesitate, they won't test you, they'll meet you. Real love isn't a test you pass, it's a home you return to, and you deserve to come home to something that doesn't make you feel like you're failing. So now take a breath and sit with this. You are not here to chase love that confuses you. You are not here to be tested like you're in a classroom. You are not here to constantly prove your worth to people who can't even recognize their own. You are here to become clear. You are here to find stillness in your heart. You are here to stop waiting for someone to choose you and start becoming the one who chooses peace. And maybe right now you feel tired. You feel like you've given so much and received so little. But I promise you, this pain you're feeling, it is not permanent. It is purification. You're not being broken. You're being reshaped into someone more aware, more discerning, more aligned with your self-worth. When you stop chasing people who make you question yourself, you begin attracting the ones who remind you who you are. So if this message touched you, if even one sentence felt like it pierced through the noise inside your head, then I ask you, from a place of truth, like this video, share it with someone who needs this clarity. Comment below and let your voice be heard. And subscribe, because this space is here for men like you who are ready to rise, not just in success, but in self-mastery. Not everyone will understand this path, but those who do, we walk it together. Keep showing up, keep getting sharper, and above all, stay true to the man you are becoming. Until next time, stay grounded, stay powerful, and stay real.